Yeah, it's been a while since the last time I touched this series. Well, I'm back at it now to finish the Steam Saga by discussing the Railways 080s. Oh, wait. Oh yeah, right. By that, the Pere Marquette Railways 080s. The year was 1918. The Pere Marquette had just emerged from a long period of financial troubles and receiverships and was also experiencing a surge in wartime traffic from the Great War. The state of Michigan was becoming more industrialized with the growing automotive industry, which meant that the railway was now in need of larger and more powerful switcher locomotives than its current S2 060s. And so came the S1 080s, of which PM initially ordered just 10 from Alco at Pittsburgh, initially numbered 485 to 494, but quickly renumbered to 1300 through 1309. The original S1s, or 1300s, were 61 feet 10.5 inches long with their tenders attached, with a weight of 165.5 US tons, 22 by 28 inch cylinders, 200 psi boilers, 51 inch driving wheels, and 47.5 square feet of heating surface. They had 45,200 pounds of tractive effort, and their tenders in question were designated 7RS with 10 tons of coal and 7,000 gallons of water. They had been ordered just before the United States Railroad Administration 080 had been launched, and were slightly downscaled in every dimension. 5 years later in 1923, the PM ordered 20 more S1s with Baker valve gear and slightly longer 7RT tenders from Alco at Pittsburgh and Cook. These were further supplemented with 10 more S1s from Baldwin in 1929 when the Pere Marquette was consolidated into the control of the Van Swearingen brothers, along with the Chesapeake and Ohio, Nickel Plate Road, Erie, and Hawking Valley, in response to the booming automotive industry. The Baldwin locomotives had thermic siphons in their fireboxes, 7RU tenders, and unusual throttle designs in which the front throttle linkages ran through the sand dome. The combined number of 1300s was now 40. Meanwhile, in 1920, the railway bought 10 United States Railroad Administration 080s from Lima, which were designated S and numbered in the 1400 series. The differences from the 1300s were 8 RT tenders, 51,200 pounds of tractive effort, longer fireboxes, 175 psi boilers, and 25-inch diameter cylinders. They also initially had high-mounted sunbeam headlights, but they were later replaced with more traditional piled national headlights mounted in the center of the smokebox door. When the Van Swearingen Railroads consolidated their mechanical department heads into the Advisory Mechanical Committee, or AMC, in 1930, they drew up a new standard 080 design based mostly on the USRA version with modifications. 80 of such engines were built by Alco, 65 of them being bought by the Chesapeake and Ohio, becoming their C-16s, and the other 15 by the Pere Marquette, which CNO had recently acquired controlling interest in. Strangely, the Pere Marquette also designated their 15 C-16s and even had them numbered to picking up from the CNO engines. The only difference being that they were delivered with rather massive 19R8 tenders, which were immediately swapped out with the 10R8 tenders from the railway's MK1 Mikados. The C-16s were much larger and more powerful than the other Pere Marquette 080s, at 70 feet long and 57,200 pounds of tractive effort. The 1918-built S1s were generally assigned to switching work in the Chicago yards on the Baltimore and Ohio Terminal Railroad, with the rest being dispersed throughout the entire Pere Marquette system. They could be seen switching rolling stock around in freight yards, as well as on the Union Beltline, the Grand Rapids, Michigan General Motors plant, and loading freight cars onto ferries and dockyards. Number 1318 spent some time in the Grand Rapids Union Station, being decorated and polished with starred cylinder heads and nickel-plated steps and running boards seen on the railway's Pacifics, which was pretty unusual for a switcher. Over time, the 080s displaced the shorter 060s, eventually leading to every single one being decommissioned and sold off. The 13 and 1400s were later re-equipped with 52-inch driving wheels, which the C16s were already built with. Following the Chesapeake and Ohio's acquisition of the Pere Marquette in 1947, the 1918 batch were redesignated C9, the Baldwin S1s, for some reason, C10, the 1400s C11, and the 1923 batch C13. Renumbering assignments, as per usual, were pretty messy, with the C16s renumbered 380 to 384 because C&O already filled their PM numbering spots with previous orders. Of the 65 total Pere Marquette 080s, 1 C16, 7 Alco 1300s, every one of the Baldwins, and half of the 1400s were not renumbered due to a stipulation agreement requiring any equipment not paid for to retain its Pere Marquette number and lettering. When dieselization commenced on the C&O, every single one of the 13 and 1400s were decommissioned and scrapped between 1950 and 52. 9 C16s followed in 53. The remaining 6 were sent from the PM district following its dieselization down south to the Chesapeake district. They went to Fulton Yard in Richmond and Newport News. C&O found them to be better at their new jobs than their more rigid 010Os. They lasted just as long as the original C16s, thanks to the basic quality of the USRA design coupled with AMC modifications. But eventually, they too were all cut up by 1954. None of the original C16s were saved from being torched. Pere Marquette's 080s never had a more eventful existence than the 060s they replaced, but nonetheless helped lead the railway into a better future and had a few interesting moments along the way. It thus makes a nice novelty place for them in the history book of the Pere Marquette Railway, the railway that gave us the Polar Express. And that concludes the entire steam locomotive saga of the series. All I gotta do now is cover its diesels, and at least remake the 10-wheeler episode whenever time between semesters permits. Maybe the Atlantic and Pacific episodes too, given, If you enjoyed, remember to like, subscribe, and remember to turn on notifications so that you don't miss future uploads like this, because in the process, you'll be supporting my channel for free. I'm the Rocket City Railfan, and I'll see you on the high iron. Thanks for watching!